Would you like a Guardian farm that is pretty small and compact, requires absolutely no draining whatsoever, and still gives you the choice between XP and AFK mode? Don't you go anywhere. I'm going to show you how to make it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night, depending on what time you're watching this next episode from me, Avomance, in my farm tutorial series. Well, you've been asking for it for a long time, so here is my Guardian farm. It's actually a really good Guardian farm because it requires absolutely no draining of the monument whatsoever. No sand, no sponges, nothing like that. All you need to do is bring a really good pick, and you could probably use a conduit. That would be very helpful, but even that isn't absolutely essential. This is pretty small, but it's completely expandable right up to the maximum size of about 56 by 56. I've done this way less than that. It's not even 20 by 20, and it's still giving me a really good yield. You can switch between AFK mode and also you can go into XP mode depending on what you want to do with the farm. It's completely up to you. I'm going to show you how to make it right now. To make this build actually for a Guardian farm is really quite resource friendly, because some Guardian farms just take masses of resource to be able to build. But for this one, you need, for the size that I'm going to make, remember you could make it bigger or smaller if you wanted to, you're going to need about 4 stacks of temporary blocks. So these are temporary, you're going to get them back. You're going to need about 1,500 to 1,600 glass. You're going to need about 270 gates. You're going to need about 360 slabs. You're going to need about 12 compressed ice is better. Normal ice does work. You're going to need 4 water buckets. You're going to need 10 signs, 286 soul sands, 12 buckets of lava, 4 oak trapdoors, doesn't have to be oak, could be any wood. You're going to need 6 hoppers, 8 chests, you could have more chests and hoppers if you wished, 2 dispensers, 8 redstone dust, 1 button, and then some stone bricks and stone brick stairs, or other bricks and stairs if you wish, and a few bits of sand for marking out. Now, the first thing you've got to do is find yourself an ocean monument, and to be honest with you, that can sometimes be the hardest part, but I've got one here. You can find it in a number of different ways. The first way is to swim around in the sea or on a boat and just hope that you trip over one. If you're slightly less bothered about, in inverted commas, cheating, you can use the /locate monument command, and if you have structures enabled in your farm, you will be able to find a monument fairly quickly. And then once you have done that, you need to clear out the elder guardians. If you don't clear out the elder guardians, what you're going to get is mining fatigue, and then more mining fatigue, and then more mining fatigue, and that is going to cause you massive problems. So clear out the elder guardians. You can find the elder guardians very often at the top here. So if I clear out here, look, there's one there already. Apps literally is on my head the second I break through. So give him a bit of a tap with your best sword and get rid of him. He will almost certainly give you mining fatigue. You might want to bring things like milk and stuff like that. You also might want to build yourself a conduit. These are all things that would be very useful. But get yourself a Guardian free monument. Brilliant, your farm is elder garden free. You've bashed all 3 of them. They are deader than a very dead fish. And now you can start building your farm, because the other guardians will gently float down to the bottom when they've got nothing to target, which is great unless you give them something to target. So try not to, because in survival they can get a little bit edgy. Bring yourself up to a platform that is 1 above, you can see 1 above the level of the water. Get rid of those just for now. And I want you to build around this square an exact duplicate of that square in a block that is going to be easy to mine. So use dirt if you wish, but I'm using wool because wool is dead easy to mine. If you've got enough, you could maybe use slime blocks, but you're going to be making a platform that's fairly big now. We are going to come out, look at where the front of the monument is. It's there. So come to the side of the monument, and I want you to come out from this edge 7 more blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Same on the other side, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And then coming out the back, so that's the front of the monument, coming out the back, I want you to come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And then coming out the front, I want you to come out 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then nothing more complicated than filling this out so you've got a nice platform. And I'm going to be back when I've finished the platform. And we've got one fairly small size platform, and I've just marked where that 4x4 is in the middle with a different coloured wall. It's not important really that you know where it was, it's just quite useful that you know where the centre of that platform is, even though it's not really quite the centre. And then what I want you to do is I want you to come from the centre here all the way to the edge of the front, which is, remember, where this little kind of tunnely bit is here, all the way to the front, and then to the side I want you to go up. So you've got one out in this direction, and I want you to come all the way around the edge of the build for a single row. So once I've done that, you'll see what I mean. And we're going to come all the way around, literally just a single row like this. Coming round and around and around and around. And when you get to the front, I want you to leave a gap of 2 blocks. So there, so you can see 1 and 2. And then add 3 more rows in exactly the same place. I'll be back when I've done that. So we have got a nice 4-high glass wall. It doesn't have to be glass. It could be any block you want really, but I like it to be glass because then I can see the guardians inside struggling to escape my trap. But they can't. No, they can't. So that's why I've got it glass. And in this little 2 wide gap here, this is the escape tunnel. And we're going to put a row of 8 fence blocks. So that's that one and that one. And then we're going to come back another 7. So 8 in total. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you should find you are exactly on the back edge of this red square. Assuming that you put it as a red square. You might put it as a blue square. It works in exactly the same way. There you go. So we've got all of those gates in a line. Give it a right old open. Otherwise things won't be able to pass through them. Like that. Perfect. And then we are going to put water on every other block. Now these all are going to be water source blocks. So every second block on the edge, although if you have to go in a corner, then you have to go in a corner, put a water bucket. And if you want, if you're doing this in survival, you just go back to a water source block, pick it up and put it in there. And that goes there. Back to a water source block, pick it up, put it there. Back to a water source block, pick it up, put it there. And pick it up and put it, not the next empty block, but the one after, shove it down, and you should find you get water source blocks all the way around. Now, because you've got fence posts in the middle here, you're going to find that you're going to have to go do 3 sides. Normally you'd only have to do 2, but you're going to do 3 sides because then the water will go on both sides of that fence area that we've just created there. You see what I mean? Okay, so that is section 1. Time for some more fence gates now, and we're going to put fence gates going from this edge here along down, but 1 block above these fence gates. So you can do that just by shoving them in the side, shift clicking along, and you can get the next one on it. If you don't shift click, it's like when you got like a furnace or a chest, you've got to shift click to get the functionality you want. Make sure they're all facing in the same direction, otherwise you'll find it ain't gonna work like that. That ain't gonna work. So shift click in there, coming along this way. You can see how we're doing it. Shift click on there, shift click on there, and finally shift click on there. And then the next bit is a little bit easier because you just coming up, you just bring them all the way back so as you got them on every section, except I have to get out of the way to be able to do that like that. There we go. So we're just going to complete that all the way along here as well. Make sure they're all facing the same way, and to do that you've got to go upwards. If I could steer, I'd be showing you a much better way. So you can do it crossways as well if you want, just like this, and fill it up. And then on the other side you need to do exactly the same, by filling it along for the entire width of that first section, right to the back of that red section, and then put fence gates along every one. And when you've got them all the way to the back here, make sure you've got them all open like this. Don't do that, because that means that there's a bucket of water in the way. Let's just put that fence post back there. There we go, that's better. And then open them all up exactly like that. So when I've done both these sides, I'll be back. So we've got a strip of open fence gates that point towards that direction. On this side, point towards that direction, with this escape channel pointing right out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to raise the game one more time. So this back section, this entire back section, is all going to be one level, and it's all going to point towards the front like that. So first thing we've got to do is we've got to fill another level of water. Now you should, because this is all just one big rectangle, only have to do two sides, and that should give you water source blocks for the entirety of that rectangle. You can see there they all fill up themselves, and then pointing in that direction, so the flat edge of the gate is pointing in that direction like that. I want you to completely fill up the rest of the space, remembering that you can't do it if you're in the way. And then similarly right all the way across, right to making sure you're facing the right direction. This can sometimes be a little bit fiddly, especially if you're a rubbish driver like off of me, but you should eventually be able to get... Can you tell I'm concentrating because my voice has got a distinct tongue sticking out of my mouth type of sound, and that's because there is a tongue sticking out of my mouth. There we go. It's my tongue, just to be clarified on that one. There you go. So right the way across and right the way back on every level. Once you've done that, you will be completely gated out, and I will be back when I am completely gated out. So you should have a completed kind of farm collection section that looks a little bit like this. You'll notice the water is starting to stream out here and it doesn't go to the end. That's fine. We're going to sort that out in just a minute. But what I want you to do now is I want you to get yourself a temporary block, and I want you to put it there, 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 and there. See, that blocks off that water, because what we've got to do now is start to add the water for this farm, and we want to put a source block on top of these two fences here, the escape fences, which means we need to put blocks here that we can then take away. Now that's great, and we're going to just do that now with a water bucket there and a water bucket there. See, now you see the water goes all the way to the edge, and it's like a water blade right on the edge there. Then you can get rid of that block. It's an infinite water source again, because the block here and the block here are infinite water sources, and they merge to make another infinite water source. Similarly on this side, make a water source like that, and the same on that side, and the same on that side, because the blocks underneath are also infinite water sources, and you get the water blade running all the way to the end like that. Now we're going to put the water across these two edges, so I'm just going to do that now. And again, you can see we want an infinite water source across every single one of these on the side, and that brings the water blade right to the edge like that. And then coming on this side as well, we do exactly the same thing. There we go, infinite water sources going down that way. That's brilliant. Now you'll notice this water does appear to join up, but the water still flows down and out. It is working. Do not panic. It looks a little bit weird here. You've got two of these like triangle shapes, which looks kind of cool, but they will still come out. That is what you're after. And then similarly, all the way along the back here, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to put water source block every second block, and this is why you had a 4 high wall at the start, and that goes all the way down like that. And you'll see, if you look at all of the water kind of travel paths that you can see with the ripples, they all lead here. They all lead out. So everything that gets stuck kind of around here will eventually be pushed out and down into this hole. So again, it looks a little bit weird. Don't panic. It does work. It comes all the way out from the back, all the way down, irrelevant of what hole we're playing with. So the next thing I want you to do is build up your walls just ever so slightly taller. We're going to come up another 2 blocks. So 1, 2, all the way around like this. So once we've done that, we can start to put on a bit of a roof. But I don't want you to do the entire roof once we've done that. I just want you to do part of it. And we're going to roof it up with slabs. So I'm just going to get this bit done. So we are perfectly formed there. And then get yourself a slab. Doesn't matter what slab you use. You literally could use any slab you want. I'm going to use stone brick. Why am I using stone brick? Because I can, dear viewer. That is what I'm going to use. So I am going to fill in the roof all the way across, but I'm going to leave myself a little hole because I do need to be able to access it. So I'm just going to leave this corner as a hole so as I can access it readily. But the rest of it is going to be completely topped off. Now there's a reason we're putting a roof on. You might say, but we don't need a roof on it. The glass won't spawn any mobs. Why are you doing this, Avo? It's quite simple really. There is an improved chance of spawn rate if the water block is basically not open to the sky. So there's an advantage for there to be basically it be covered, and a half slab will do an effective sky coverage. If you trap doors or glass or something like that, that's not considered as coverage from the sky, but these half blocks will be. So we're just going to carry on doing this roof, and that should improve the spawnability of our guardians. The next bit we're going to do is the extension to the escape route, the escape tube, tunnel, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to use ice for this. So we're going to come out 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is enough. Then with more glass, you're going to come out this far and this far. And then we're going to just build out our tunnel so as it is 3 high along there like that. So you can see we've got like the escape route is flowing past us that way. So then we're going to get ourselves another a sign that goes there and a sign that goes there. Now the reason we're doing that is we're trying to stop the water from losing momentum, because the longer the water flows away from a source block, the less kind of power, the less strength it has to be able to push things with any force. So once we've done that, we can then come out one more with ice. Now because it's ice, they'll be sliding along at a right old rate of knots. It'll be like a super slider. And then next to it, I want you to put a square of 4 soul sands. Bring this out all the way around like that, all the way up until you've got a height that's equal to the rest of it. What we're now going to do is block this off so there is no way that this water can escape, essentially. And because guardians sometimes get a little bit jiggy, we're going to account for their jigginess by having it 3 high, and then we can start to top it off. So let's build ourselves a big square, a 4x4 square like that. Close this off like this, and you can then close that off above that like that as well. And then we're going to tower this up. Now how far you tower it up is actually very, very, very much up to you, but bear in mind you're going to be putting a water source block in each corner of this square, so like there and there. So I'll demonstrate for you now. So you're going to be putting a water source block there, and then in the opposite corner as well, there, like that. So you can see, and now we're getting zoomed about by the bubble columns that's starting to form on top of this soul sand. And again, we're just gonna, if you can control yourself, you're going to put one there and there, one there and there, one there and there. Okay, so you've got a bubble column that goes up and up and up and up and up and up. So you can go as high really as you would like. Now the idea is we're going to have a bubble column that goes up, and then there's going to be a bubble, not a bubble, sorry, a water stream that pushes the Guardians across, and they are then going to drop. So you want, from this level here, for the Guardians to have a decent amount of drop. And I recommend you want them to be dropping at least 30. So I'm going to suggest we build this up 35 blocks from here. So I'm going to be back when I've built this 35, no, not like that, for goodness sake. I'm going to be back when I've built this up 35 blocks, so this being 1, all the way around like that. So I built it up 35 blocks and built a little extra kind of chute, and I'll be back when I finish that. So we're at the top of our column of glass, and we've built ourselves, you can see here, kind of looks a little bit like a diving board off. So we've had to come out, and it's actually quite surprising. You would be surprised. Now this is here and here. These are basically, this 4 are all water spawn blocks, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the hole like that. So it is not 8 blocks in the hole, because the 8 starts counting from the back, and that's why. So we're going to count 8 blocks from the back and create ourselves a little platform. It is going to be 3 high, and then we're going to, again, if you wish, you don't have to, but it's quite good to put a little roof on it, because that stops the Guardians from jumping about too much. They can, on occasion, flip out so much that they bounce off of the hole, and that's not something you want. And this tube, if we were to have a Guardian drop like mad to the floor, it would die a lot. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be giving the option of both AFK farming for Prismarine and also farming for XP and Prismarine. You're going to have the choice, and we're going to do that in a number of different ways. Now, we want to make sure that our drop zone is in exactly the right place. Now, you can do it in a number of ways. You can just start to tower down with glass if you want, but towering down is actually a lot harder than towering up, especially in survival. So we're not necessarily going to do it that way. If you try and drop some sand from the bottom in a corner, because we got half slabs on the bottom, it doesn't actually fall as a piece of sand. It ends up despawning as if it's fallen onto a torch or something like that. So what you can do is get yourself just a few half slabs on top here, just to mark out approximately where you think the edge is, and you could drop sand on it that way. Let's just demonstrate that for you. Coming up now. That now isn't going to be falling on a square, I hope, unless I've misjudged it. So yep, see, that falls on a square, and that knows exactly where that is. Alternatively, you can just count. You know from the edge of this column, you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's the 7th block that you want on the sand. So you come at the bottom, you can come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th block there is the sand. And we know for a fact that that's what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all of this top here bit now, because we are going to use that block there as our sand. Let's just, whoops, let's just make another block there. So this is marking out our, let's just put that there like that. So that marks out our drop zone. And then what we want to do is just rebuild that roof with the slabs like this, all the way around. So as we know exactly where our drop zone is going to be. And then once we know where the drop zone is going to be, we can start to tower up. And towering up is a lot easier than towering down. So you've got the choice now. We can tower up a little bit, or we can tower up a lot. Now what I suggest we do here, however, is build ourselves some capacity. So I'm just going to get myself a half slab there and a half slab there and a half slab there and a half slab there. And what I want to do is I want to get some chests, because it's chests that are going to hold our stuff. I'm going to put a double chest in there, a double chest in there, a double chest in there, a double chest in there. So 4 double chests. You could do more if you wish, but I'm just going to use that many. I'm then going to get a hopper, and I'm going to push a hopper using shift click into there, into there, into there, and into there. And I'm then going to push 4 hoppers, whoops, like that, into that system. So you can see the hoppers are all going to be pointing into the chest. That hopper points into that hopper. So it goes down, fills this chest up first before it fills anything else. And then what we can do is we can just get ourselves some stone brick blocks, because it's a lot easier to build with those, and replace the sand up to and including underneath the hoppers, and we've got basically a full tower without any gaps. And we know that around this way is where the glass tower is, so this is where we can start to tower up with the glass. So we're going to go, let's just put a little bit of a half slab underneath so there's not a gap, it just looks a little bit unsightly. There we go, there and there. And then we're going to tower up with this glass so as we can start to get to the top of our drop. We're not going to go the whole way, we are going to go a little way though, definitely a reasonable drop, and then we have to stop because we are going to want to damage these guardians if all we're going to do is bash them with a sword and not go XP, and that is done using lava. So I'm going to be back when I've towered up just a few blocks from the top, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So we have towered up and we've got one side here where we are basically standing just below the top. That's where the edge of the water is, and we want to count down. So that's 1. So this is the one directly under the water. So 1 underneath is 1, 2, 3. And then on the one underneath that, we want to put a sign there, a sign there, a sign there, and a sign there, because we are going to put in a lava blade. Now if you find you have signs that burn in your version of Minecraft, then you can use iron trapdoors or something like that, and I think other even open fence gates I think might even work at this point. You might want to give that a go. I'm not a bedrock player, so I'm not entirely sure. And then we want to get lava there, lava there, lava there, and lava, whoops, actually we don't want the lava to be there, we want it to be, where's my bucket? So get rid of that because I want the lava to be a bit like an infinite water source but off of lava. And then we're going to put another one there, 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 and there. Then jump up one more level and do one there, 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 and there. So that is 3 full blocks of lava that you've got there. Perhaps you would have towered up so as you can get off here. That is going to cause the necessary damage to these guys to give them a little bit of a headache. Then block up the hole and you can come back down, and perhaps you've placed yourself a drop with a little pool that you can drop into. I don't know. Now you will notice that we have left some gaps in this tower. We have got a gap of 4 here, and we have got a gap of 2 here. And this is how we're going to create our XP, non-XP method of collection. So I've just put a set of steps just going up to the hole. Nothing too hard about that. I'm sure you can work out how to do a set of steps. So I'm coming up to the top here, and I'm going to stand in this recess, and I'm going to put a dispenser there and a dispenser there. It must be a dispenser, not a dropper. I'm going to shove 1 bucket of water in that one and 1 bucket of water in that one. And you will notice that I have put a row of stone brick all the way around here. I'm going to put another 2 stone bricks there, and then I'm going to get some redstone, and I'm going to shove redstone there, redstone there, redstone there, and it's going to go all the way into that block. Then the other side of that block, we're going to shove a button like that. And then finally, we're going to put trapdoor there, trapdoor there, trapdoor there, trapdoor there. We're going to close that trapdoor because we can, and that gives us our bashing area. And then if we hit that button, that floods that system. Now that floods that system does 2 things. One, any gardens at the back, they're going to be pushed towards the front because the water is pushing them towards the front, so you can hit them very nicely. Don't worry, they can't hit you. But also, that is going to soften the blow and put out any on-fire guardians so they're not too deaded. So when you bash them with your sword, hopefully 1 hit with a bit of luck, especially if you've got a nice sword, then you're going to get the experience from it, which is great. And then turn it off, and you've got an area there which, when you combine the Burny Guardian burner up there with the Fall, will cause them to die, which is awesome. And that means you can AFK like this with it non-watery, and then when you want to get some XP, whack in the water, give them a reet good bash, and turn it off. Now, if you're going to AFK, what I will tell you is don't necessarily AFK up on here, but what you can do is you can AFK down here and build yourself just a little shelter like this, and come around the other side as well, because what you're going to want to do is protect yourself from the nasty, from the nasty, horrible phantoms that want to eat your face. No, I've not done that particularly well either, have I? There we go, like that and like that. And you can sit in here, get yourself a little door, any door will do, and you can shove that door. Oh, if you put a slab first, you can shove that door down on there, and you can come in and out of your little AFK spot, and those guardians will keep on coming, and the phantoms can't eat your face for toffee. There we go. Happy days. AFK spot, everyone's a winner. Out we come. If you wanted to, you could probably put an AFK spot with a fishing farm, should you choose to do so. So that is this bit all done. But we've got no guardians coming in yet. The reason we've got no guardians coming in yet is because we've not set the farm up properly. We've got to do quite a lot of work yet, and it starts off by getting rid of some of this area under here, because this is where the guardian's spawning area is, and we want to be removing at least, and I mean at least, the temple area that is underneath our section. So this is where you could build a much bigger farm, because you could literally just have the entirety of the guardian, which I think is 56-ish blocks square. You could do a guardian farm that's 56 blocks wide and 56 blocks long, or something like that, and that would work amazingly. You'd have guardians coming out there all day. But this smaller one still gives you a decent yield. First things first though, you want to be getting rid of this wool area. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, when you take out your first couple of blocks, you're not going to have infinite water source there, and the reason is because the water from above and below won't make an infinite water source, and there's no water to the left or the right because this row of blocks here is in the way. So you just need to get yourself some water source blocks in the middle there and in there. Whoops, don't want that one. And what that's going to allow you to do then is to, when you take out more of these blocks, they're going to end up being water source blocks. So now we've got water source blocks on two sides of this one. We can take that out, that becomes a water source block. Similarly with that one. So you can see the system. So now we're going to just take out as many of these as we can, replacing water source blocks where necessary. That wasn't necessary at all. I don't know why I did it. And just get rid of as many of these as you possibly can. And that will give you water source blocks from the floor all the way up. So I'm just going to get rid of the whole of this now. So we are underneath here and we have completely taken out the floor. It is a pure water column up into the section here, which is great. That's what we're looking for. Now we're just very nearly towards the end of our journey together now, but we have a number of choices next. We need to get rid of this section here, the whole lot, kelp, grass, the lot, and we want to do it at least in the area that we've got our collection chamber, whatever you want to call it, at least that big. And to be able to do that, you can do it a number of ways. One, obviously you can count. We know that we counted 6 in one direction, 5 towards the front, 6 towards the back, and 7 in either direction from the outside of this square. We know we did that, so you could do it from that way. Or alternatively, if you wanted to, you could shove a sand in each of these corners and that will tell you exactly where the corners of the spawning or the collection chamber is. And that, you can see from the sands perspective, is where we are able to play around. Now you don't have to stop there, you can take out a lot more of it if you wanted to, but that's the minimum that you can take out. So I'm going to basically not bore you with me digging out all of this area, because I'm sure you've got better things to do with your life than seeing me bash a load of prismarine. So I will be back when I've cleared out a big old chunk of this area. Right, I will tell you now, that took some proper digging. Proper digging. But that's all right, because once you've done it, it's done. And then you absolutely have to identify, look at all the kelp that got blown up. You absolutely have to identify the corners of your collection chamber. And again, the best way to do this is to lob some sand in each corner, like this, collecting the kelp as you go. And that is the area within which we are going to be playing. So now you've got a bit of a choice. On Java, you can replace the entire floor. However, on Bedrock, these little puppies do not spawn in a bubble column. And if they don't spawn in a bubble column, you can't have totally all of this being bubble columns. You need to be a little bit more choosy. It's not as effective if you don't have the whole floor as a bubble column, but you have got the choice to not do it. So we are going to replace the entirety of the floor with soul sand. And yes, this takes a little bit of time, but we're going to get plenty of these fellas going up in the bubble columns as we make them. So the farm actually starts to work right now. So I'm just going to make a complete layer. Again, this is where conduit power comes into its own, because you can breathe, you can do all sorts. Maybe a potion of invisibility wouldn't be too bad a shout. Lots of ways to protect yourself against these guardians, because they are going to want to eat your face whilst you're laying the soul sand. Of that, there is absolutely no doubt. So I'm just going to keep laying this out. You don't need to worry about light. In fact, I really wouldn't worry about light at all. Get this soul sand on and filled up as quickly as you possibly can to reduce your chances of an unfortunate death-related accident. I'll be back when I've finished. Now you may wish to turn your particles to minimum on this one, because minimal particles will cause the lag to reduce. This much bubble effectively creates lag if you're not careful. And if you've got particles on standard or anything like that, you're going to find that you're going to get really quite loads of lag. So switch your particles to minimal and you'll find it improves your day a whole lot. You can see guardians are already starting to peel out and go up to the top. Guardians are flying up to the top there, and they're having a bit of a bounce. That's interesting. And there they go. So they do go pass along. He's going to fall down. He doesn't really want to, but he will do it eventually. In he goes. He falls through the lava all the way down to the bottom. And because I've got the water off, that is going to start to collect the bits and pieces. So I'm just going to go in here. Already I've got a couple of bits of prismarine. There's more coming. That just dropped a fish. That's a bit tight. You want more than a fish, don't you? And I think that that is actually a decent start. We've got more guardians coming up there. Look, you can see they're all coming up. Up they go. They do accumulate a little bit at the top, but they do eventually push each other through. They fall through the lava. They can't stop themselves. They land, they burn, they die. And that is how the AFK section works. They just keep on coming. Look, they're coming more and more now. And the more you leave it, the more effective it becomes. Through the lava they go, all the way down, on fire, into the fiery pit. And you start to collect a pretty reasonable number of prismarines. Look, already we got 9 shards, we've got some crystals coming. We also have cooked cod, which is always fun. And if we want to turn the AFK bit on, you can see here that they immediately go out, but through they come. but they're not very healthy. So I'm just going to go into survival and demonstrate how that works. So I've come into survival mode, and you can see we've got a whole load of guardians that are just looking at us, but they're not shooting at us because these trapdoors stop it. They don't actually have the ability to shoot at you, which is quite useful, and they don't do any damage. But when you hit them, you can take damage, and the reason you can take damage is because you get the kind of the spiky effect that guardians can give you. So as long as you don't spam hit them a lot and get ready to cure yourself, perhaps with a little bit of food or something like that, or you've got a gapple, then you're going to be all right. You can see it's quite effective. We've already got up to level 11. We were on level 5 when we started. It's pretty good. Let's get another apple inside us. Let's keep bashing them. Quite effective. So level 15 in about, what was that, 30 seconds. So it's 10 levels in about 30 seconds. And if I come down here, I picked up some prismarine bits and pieces there, but we've also managed to collect, I've managed to drop these bits, I don't know how I managed to drop those, but we've also managed to collect a fair few items just with a few hits, 37 shards and 12 prismarine crystals. Now what I'm going to test out is how much can we get with a little bit of AFK. So if I take these in and then go and turn off the water, I'll just kill these first. Okay, so we're emptied out. Let's empty this fella out now. Right, I'm going to AFK for 15 minutes and let's see what we can't get. So we have been going for 17 minutes now. The guardians are still pushing up. You can see they do gather just a little bit in that corner there. It's not 100% efficient, but they eventually push each other over, especially when the fellas down here come along and start pushing them around. So we have done, in fact, what I'm going to do so as we don't get any contamination, I'm going to stop any more drops coming through, and we have done, in 17 minutes of drops, we have got 1, 2, 3 and nearly a half stacks of prismarine shards. We've had 1.5 very nearly prismarine crystals and 1 1/3 stacks of cooked cod. That, for 17 minutes work, ain't too shabby. So if you're over AFKing for a number of hours, you're going to get yourself a very nice stash. Thank you very much. So there you have it, one Guardian farm. And to compare it to other Guardian farms, I think this one is actually pretty simple to build. You don't have to go and collect all your goods miles underwater and find some way of getting under there. Once you've managed to cut away most of the monument, you are going to find this dead easy to build, and you get lots and lots of guardians you can interchange between XP mode and AFK mode, and as a result you've got all kinds of flexibility. It's really not that hard to build. If you've enjoyed that video, please do remember to slap that like button. It'd be great to know you're enjoying it, and I will keep on making these farm tutorials. Also, if you've not done it already, please do hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to see you in my sub club, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. You take it easy now. Bye.